Hello. Today, I'm really excited to have a new synth here to explore. This is the Roland D05. This is their boutique version, reissue of the Roland D50, which came out in 1987. Now, I was really excited when I first saw this announced because one of the first synthesizers that I ever had a chance to play music with is the Roland D50. My bandmate has one. I actually found it in the trash back in 2005 and had many fun hours playing around on that thing. Has a very distinct sound, very recognizable, and so when I first saw this announced, I got really excited and knew I was going to order this as soon as it was available. Prior to that, I had actually been thinking about picking up a Roland D550, which was the rack mount version of the D50, but doesn't have the joystick, and that's a fun little addition. So we're going to do an unboxing, and then we're going to run through a few of the patches and hear what this guy can do. So as you can see, it's really nice box. Got some info about the D50 on the back here. And this just slides out. There he is, safely cushioned in here. And then like a manual or something in here. What's that? French? I don't know. This thing's like a map. Well, it's not the most convenient layout for a manual, but probably just download the manual anyways. More stuff. I'm not a big fan of manuals. I like to just dive in to any new piece of gear that I get and see what I could figure out intuitively. And then once I get a hang of it, then maybe I go back and look through the manuals if I'm trying to figure out how to do a specific thing. So put that to the side. See, it's nice, compact. On the back we've got MIDI in and out, mix in, out, phones, volume. Now it's just USB powered. There's no, oh, I guess you can do battery powered too. That's pretty cool. Although I hate putting batteries in things. They always run out so quick. It's sort of the layout of how to, create a sound. And your envelopes here, your EQ right on the front. Joystick. Which actually, for the longest time, I didn't realize it's a lot more useful than I initially thought. Pitch bend and modulation. I do find it odd that the Boutique series has the pitch bend and modulation on the unit rather than on the MIDI controller keys that you get separately. Seemed like, especially with the D50, since it's all menu diving, if you didn't have these here, you could have a bigger screen, have your buttons laid out a little more. But yeah, let's get this guy hooked up and run through some of the presets. Alright, so we've got our 2-year key step, which we'll be using to control the D05. One thing I will note is the D05 does not come with any sort of power, neither batteries or its own USB cable, but I had one lying around, so not a big deal. So let's turn this guy on. Okay, here we go. This actually has a lot more preset banks than the original D50. The original one is eight banks of 8 patches. And this actually has that, and then it has like six banks of 64. A couple empty ones too, so you can make your own patches without having to even overwrite anything right away. So let's start the first one. I believe the first bank is all the original sounds that came stock with the D50. Now the one my friend actually found was, I think, missing a few patches, and some of them were renamed other stuff, and some of them, I guess whoever had previously owned that D50 had overwritten them with some different sounds. So some of these original ones I'm not actually familiar with. Surprisingly, even the most well-known one, which I think is this one, that's not it. Oh yeah, Digital Native Dance. This one was not on the D50 that my friend found. It's a really nice patch. Yeah, so there's a sequencer on this, which wasn't on the original D50. And, okay, there, I guess. I'm just going to run through a few of the patches, point out some of my favorites, and maybe check out a few of the ones that were overwritten on the D50 that we had, or even renamed. So yeah, let's just start. Point out some of my favorites. First one is Fantasia. This one I'm familiar with. It's a nice pad. It's a little bell sound at the beginning there. Right, I'm not sure why. Right, next we have Metal Harp. Nice plucky sound. I don't think this is one I'm familiar with. And next we got jazz guitar. Another one, this was not on the D50 that my friend found. Okay, so this is one I'm familiar with, Arco Strings. So I think maybe on D50 my friend found it was renamed or something. Now what really gave the D50 its distinct sound was how it combined short samples with subtractive synthesis. So a lot of these sounds are have a nice plucky beginning, a nice hit. It really has a sound all its own. This especially is a patch that I recognize. This got a lot of use. We do a lot of silly circus stuff, and this was just perfect for it. There you go. This is definitely another one. Living Calliope is one of our favorite sounds. Again, very circusy. I am also kind of experiencing the aftertouch function for the first time because I don't think it works properly on my friend's D50. So a lot of these sounds get a nice little Again, this was definitely one of our favorite sounds. We'd actually take this and run it through a really small, crappy amp, full blast, distort it to all hell, and just really go nuts. Again, this is not one I'm familiar with. Again, digital negative dance is sort of a patch that the D50 apparently is known for, but we've never heard it because I guess whoever previously had the D50 had no use for this sound. I don't know why it's really great, and I can't believe I had this thing for years and never heard that one before. But bass marimba, definitely. This is definitely one that got a lot of use. D50 really excelled at very percussive sounds, or sounds with very percussive attacks. And they're really good at sort of cutting through other instruments in a mix, really. And what's also nice about it is there are definitely a lot of patches on here where they try to recreate acoustic instruments, like the marimba, flute piano. But I'm actually personally not a big fan of synthesizers being used to recreate acoustic sounds. They should be used to create new sounds, in my opinion. But what's nice about a lot of these, and the strings too, is that they don't quite sound like what they're supposed to. They sound enough like they're their own instrument, and not like a bad imitation of something, or even a good imitation of something. They sound like their own. Their own unique sound. Harpsichord is a really good one. As much as I really like a lot of the very aggressive, loud lead type sounds on here, and as much as we made a lot of use of sounds like those, I actually really like the softer pad type sounds on here too. This is a really nice one, Island Atmosphere. This was another one we used a lot. Yeah, again, for a lot of these, having the addition of Aftertouch really makes them new patches for me. Even ones that I'm familiar with, we've definitely used this one a lot, but just having this nice little it's going to really open up some new avenues for creative music creation. This one, Pipe Solo, is a favorite of mine because it's very happy, cheery sounding. Reminds me of, it should be soundtracked to some children's story book. Now when it comes to pad sounds, this is one of my favorites on here. Soundtrack. It's just very beautiful. Just have a listen. It's got a very eerie sound to it. Church music. Now, another thing I liked about the D50 was hitting the really, really high notes on some of these sounds. Because some of them sounds really strange. So here's vibraphone. Hit those really high notes, and you get some really strange things going on up here. I really don't know why the sequencer just keeps starting randomly. I guess this is one of those things I'm going to have to look in the manual about. Now, the D50 was one of the most popular synthesizers in the 80s and early 90s, next to the Yamaha DX7, which actually have the Volca FM, which is basically a mini recreation, same architecture as the DX7. It's basically the DX7, the Roland D50, and the Korg M1 were the synthesizers of the time, and none of them were particularly easy to program, especially because a lot of it involved a lot of menu diving or FM synthesis, which is a little difficult to get a grasp on. So a lot of times people just use the presets. So if you're familiar enough with the sounds that some of these produce, you can recognize a lot of them instantly when you listen to music during that time. And even we did the same thing when we had the D50. We very rarely actually dove in and created new patches. And even if we did, we rarely saved them because we didn't have a means of saving them without overriding what was on there, which we didn't want to do. So even in our band, we did basically the same thing most of the time. So listening to some of the stuff that we've put out, you'll instantly recognize some of the default patches on here, if you know what you're listening for. Flutish Brass is another patch I really enjoy because it has sort of a silly, lighthearted sound to it. Hollowed harp is another. There's a lot of just very playful, cheery silly sounds on this thing. Alright, so that's a brief look at the Roland D05. Obviously there's a lot that we didn't cover. It's a very deep synthesizer. Perhaps in another video I'll highlight some of my favorite patches on here, and then eventually we'll create something new from scratch.